And welcome to Down the Alley. This is PMAC.
And Ted T.S. Spirides.
And Katie.
And JP.
And before we get to that sweatshirt, Ted, breaking news. I want to get this out right away. Right away. Ted's been being, I think he's been in his man cave there late at night. I've been trying to figure out tech. Tech is not my strength, but I've been learning some things. JP's been making some logos and contributing as well. Katie figuring out what she's gonna do and dialing up. It's been all hands on deck. I teased it last week. I pushed the chips and I said we are announcing this. We are announcing this next episode. So I'm putting it out on the line. And I am excited to announce downthealleypod.com. Ted, you've been very hands on this. What can the people expect to see 5 a.m. on Friday when this podcast is released? They're listening right now and they're typing in their phones downthealleypod.com. What's going to open up?
This will be our home for the show. I think up until this point, the podcast has really been a fun little side hobby, side thing we've done just because, we like to hear ourselves talk, number one. And number two, it was just a fun, thing to do and talk lacrosse and stay involved in the game. But as it's grown, and, there's more eyeballs on it now. We wanted to at least have something that just kind of a home base for everything that we're trying to do. And this will hopefully help us cover Minnesota lacrosse even better than, I don't want to say even better than we do it now. I don't know if we do it well now. I guess that's up for the people to decide, but I think it'll provide a hub, no pun intended, for, our takes on Minnesota lacrosse and hopefully allow us to do more and cover more and shout out more teams, shout out more people and provide more value. So, it's been a lot of work, even with the tools available now to make website design and development easy. It has been a lot of work. So hopefully people like it. And if you go to the site, you'll be able to see all the different things that we got on there.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited. I've thrown a few things up there for people to dive into right away. Dialing up a blog. I know people don't like to listen to me. It's going to be interesting if they want to look at what I have to write. So I've got the first one up. I think should be on the website by the time 5 a.m. on Friday hits for the diehards. We're figuring out how to put up, coaching content and different things. So, as this progresses, only more and more content's going to be up there as we go. I know JP, you're working on something on the website too. What's going to be JP's section?
Yeah, so I'm actually finalizing a link right now for people to go in. I made an album of best of pictures from last year. I figured that was probably the easiest way to just kind of get a mass album out for pictures from last year. So if you want to go on there, I think I went to 10 games last year, so not a whole lot. It's actually making my schedule for this year, so there's going to be quite a few more. But if you want to go on there, find someone of yourself, download it, put it on Instagram, put it, print one out so your mom can put it in her office or on her nightstand, whatever you want to do. But we're going to get albums out for all the games as I go to them. Also put up some game day blogs, going to a lot of games this year. So gonna do some write-ups, get some stats going for some people. But yeah, pretty excited to get some boots on the ground content for people this year.
So there's going to be pictures, there's going to be blogs, there's going to be game write-ups. Ted, I believe they have to, once they get to the website, obviously the season hasn't even started yet, so there's not going to be a ton. But what do they need to do to start, getting updates on the website and being able to see the content that we're going to put up, that Katie's going to put up on the girls' side? What do they need to do?
Yeah. So the on the main page will always feature our podcast, a link to listen, and we'll embed the latest YouTube video of the latest episode. That's always free, no changes to that. Some of the deeper content, we're actually gonna we're calling it DTA Plus. It is still free of charge. It's just going to be hidden.
Still free.
Yeah, it's still free. Some of it is, some of it won't be. But most of the stuff we've just announced will be behind in a members area on the website. So you just need to create an account. That's all you need to do. And maybe we have some more surprises coming in the future, but for right now, you just have to create an account so that we can keep our stuff, especially we're talking about high school lacrosse. We want to keep it, the content to our followers and our listeners. And so it's just a quick sign up on our website, and you'll have access to the blog, the media from when we go to games, link to all the pictures. I know a lot of people have asked about, hey, can I have the photo album from the game you were at? And we haven't really had a good system for that. Now we do. And so, yeah, that's what you'll do. It'll just ask you to create an account. It takes like 2 seconds.
One thing with the pictures too, would love wherever you post it up, give us a tag, give us a shout out. We want to see where you're posting them. We want to hype you up, put it back on our page, all that kind of stuff. Pictures are free, so just the small favor would be awesome. Yeah, like I said, we just want to share it back to people, so it'd be great to see.
Love it. Ted, good work on this website. I think the people are going to be very excited to dive deep into that and see what everything, everyone's contributions to the website. And without further ado, we're going to jump to our interview of the week from Bison Boulevard. We've got Coach Crandall. Thanks for coming down the alley with us. And Coach, I think you're on mute.
Well, that's a great way to start.
Yeah, here we go.
I was going to say I think me and the rest of Section 8 have been waiting for this to come out. So I never expected to be the one on the call. So I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
So you listen and you know all about Bison Boulevard.
Yeah.
I'll get you a t-shirt. We made t-shirts, I feel like. Didn't we make t-shirts last year?
Not yet. That's in the works. We got to make some Bison Boulevard t-shirts.
I will take one.
Yeah.
Coach, would love, are you coming from a different section, different program? This is your first year on Bison Boulevard. Welcome to Bison Boulevard. I'm the biggest fan of Bison Boulevard. What, just talk about where you came from and what brought you to Buffalo.
Yeah, I've been coaching. Well, I think Katie, I think you and I have very similar histories. I graduated 2007 from Minnetonka and, played club at the U of M, and I probably didn't played you if you were a Benny. And then I went from college to coaching at Wayzata. And so I started in Section 8 there, and then switched from Lake Conference School to Lake Conference School. And I went to Minnetonka, and I kind of went home and was trying to give back to the program that grew me. And then I now again went from Lake Conference School to Lake Conference School, and I'm at Buffalo. So different section, but same conference.
What, give us a deep dive into Section 8. I know this is a section that, maybe historically doesn't get a ton of press, doesn't give a ton of, pump up from the fans, but a section that is improving, that's getting better. Boys and girls side, I think, is going to only make more noise as the years, come along. What's the history been like as you've been in this section, and what do you expect from this section this year and moving forward?
Yeah, a deep dive for me is tough just because I was in a different section for the past 3 years, and it's changed a lot in those 3 years. I think back in the day, it was kind of like Section 8 was like not really heard of, and now I feel like you're at the point where that inner growth from like that 494 loop has now exploded outside of that. And we've got a lot of girls in Section 8 that it's their top sport. They're year-round lacrosse athletes. I think there's a lot more focus in that outer rim of lacrosse than there used to be. So I'm excited to see what it's built of. Yeah, this year.
Why is it that the boys are not in the same section?
I don't know. Chad and I were talking about that, and I'm confused by that myself, and I don't get
find
it.
that so odd. And I mean, I thought of that and I was like, I have no idea why.
Yeah,
You,
I
you know who
totally
you should ask? The Shakopee head coach. I'm sure he would love to talk about why Buffalo is in Section 2.
The boys and not the girls, though. Like, you'd think it just ease of school AD situation. Think about the ADs here, the athletic directors.
Yeah, no
Super
clue.
cool. Super cool.
So you mentioned Chad, Coach Hada, right? Big down the alley fan, been on the podcast twice now, I think. What has your relationship been like as you're coming new into the program, new into the Buffalo school program? Has he kind of brought you under his wing a little bit, tell you about the lacrosse environment for both the boys and girls team? Like, what's that been like? What's your relationship been like in the first few months, weeks, however long you've been with the program?
Yeah, it's been good. I think every school that I've been at, I've had a pretty good relationship with the boys program. So it was nice to come here and have that just carry on. We've talked on the phone a lot, we text a lot, and then we met once. So in that time, he's like talked a lot about, the community of lacrosse and the community of Buffalo and all that entails. And it's such like a family oriented thing. I think you've got so many siblings that play on boys and girls, or siblings in the boys program or in the girls program. It's just like a family event here for sure.
I'm going to shoot it over to Katie to kind of do a deep dive, I think, do you guys know each other fairly well? Not very well? A little bit?
We got to know each other real well last year when she was personally offended by he who must not be named.
Yeah.
And I think I called you out of the blue. I don't think we'd like really ever spoken. I mean, we'd seen each other like on the circuit and stuff. I think I literally just picked up the phone one day and was like, can I get this girl's number? And like called you on the phone and was like, hey, hi. Like, nobody calls each other anymore. And I just did. And we had a great chat. Over somebody who tried to just
girl power
sling it in front of everybody. It was a great time. Yeah, let's talk like returners and kind of like, whatever you do know about the team specifically last year. Hit on a couple culture points. We love kind of talking about, what are some things. First, give us kind of like the play-by-play with like returners or key players, the girl that might have graduated. So like the on-field stuff, and then kind of give us what are some traditions they hold on to that makes Buffalo unique, but then also give us like, what are you going to bring in as kind of your shtick too?
Yeah, I think, well, I just had my team meeting a couple days ago. So it was, or a week ago now. So it's like, everything's new. I'm just meeting the girls. I'm just meeting the families. Returning wise, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Ellie Toussaint, who's my D1 commit, and she's going out to Eastern Michigan. And then my goalies are coming back this year. So I've got returners there. I've got returners across the board in all positions. So I'm excited to see that. But I do think that some girls might be switching positions this year, which, I maybe I am giving away too much to the girls or making them nervous if they hear this. But I think that, we had 5 people from varsity graduate last year and 8 total across the program. So those girls will be missed for sure. And I'm looking forward to seeing what these girls have coming into it. I'm just going to find strengths early and put girls in places where I see them working the best. And as far as culturally goes, they do team dinners before every home game. I actually showed up. I got stranded. I don't know if you know this. We moved like 2 hours northwest. So we're almost to Alexandria. So I drive an hour there and an hour back every day to get to Buffalo, or 2 hours into the city. So it's kind of crazy. But I got stranded out here, and one of the Buffalo moms picked me up for the Minnetonka Buffalo game last year. And I went and I served the team dinner because that's their pregame ritual, is they have dinner together in like the little, I don't even know what they call it, area right outside the stadium. So they ate dinner together, and then we went out to the stadium, and that's going to continue. I'm super excited about that. I was looking around and I was like, this is amazing. I love this. I wish that everybody did this always. So that'll stay. And then
that fun story. Why'd you get stranded? Did your car it was not winter, like it wasn't a snowstorm?
It was a flat tire.
Oh, got it. I've been there.
A lot of those. And
Luckily, I've been like by my house Remember that one? I had I never had a flat tire in my entire life. And I got 2 in like the span of like 6 months or something.
You had a jinxed car. That
I
car
had a jinx
sucked.
car. I had like, it was actually a Jeep Wrangler, which was super fun to drive, but the thing was like tainted. It was like karma. I got flat tires all the time, but I was like right by my house. And one of them I like made at home. And I was like, are you kidding me? I have a flat tire again. It was like, you couldn't make it up. So I know how to change one now. So at least I have that going for me. But I love that. What are some things you do that you're going to bring in that you're excited to? Anything old traditions that your past players know about, or maybe what's some things new that you're going to try out at Buffalo?
Old traditions, we've always done like countries. I think that started back in Wayzata with a senior or I don't even think she was a senior at the time. I think she was a junior captain who brought that in. And I just saw the girls loving it. So they get divided into countries and then they compete all year long. I think Prior Lake does that too, right? Yeah. So it's a blast and the girls do that. I haven't decided if we're going to do that or not, but I've done that ever since then. And they compete year round in different like team bonding events and things too. So we may or may not do that, but always a big sister, little sister, right? I'm a big, or like wing women, we do that for game days. I try to focus on building that team as across the board. We're actually bringing our 7th and 8th graders up this year and creating a 3rd team. So that's new to Buffalo. And I think that starting them off of like, everybody is one team, everybody's together. That's really important to me because I think that if you kind of go into it with that thought process, you come out stronger on the other end.
Super cool. I love that. We have really fun with Olympics. We didn't do it 2021 because like you couldn't cross contaminate teams or whatever. And so last year it was just super fun. And like those first couple where you're like kind of get the break from practice and like do some of the fun, like goofy games. It's a riot. It's a riot and it gets pretty competitive. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. We always do a costume contest too, which is the best part.
Yeah. You got to do that. I love it. Cool. Look, what is the outlook for the season at Buffalo?
I mean, I'm confident, but I think I'm biased in that too. I'm really excited to see what they put together and I can't wait to see the girls together. I think from a section standpoint, I think we have a huge section. It's giant. But I think that you've got like 4 teams that are really, really strong. And I think that we're one of them. So I mean, they were the section final last year, but you can't even overlook how much Elk River dominated the entire section last year. So I think that you've got a powerhouse there. Their rosters have shifted a little bit, but I still think that's someone to look at with their top scorer coming back, their points leader coming back. Miss Adria Kotzian is still here. So that's someone to watch. And I think you've even got a school like Moorhead. There's a lot of growth there in that area. A lot of players coming down and training and seeking opportunities to play more. And then I think STMA has consistently been growing over the past few years. And I think that something that STMA and Buffalo have in common is that sharing that Lake Conference, we see so much competition throughout the season. You know, like we went 500 last year because look at our conference, look at who we have to play. Yeah. And I think if you convert a few of those close games, you have a much better looking season. So I think that learning from that those Lake Conference competitions and matchups are big for STMA and Buffalo.
How many games does your conference require you to play in conference? How much does that affect your out of conference schedule? Because I know, God, I forget what conference we're talking about, but it takes up basically all their games but one. Is that similar for the Lake Conference, or you guys have a little bit more flexibility?
Lake Conference used to be a double round, so we would play twice. And when Buffalo and STMA joined Lake Conference, there was a vote, and they voted to do a single round. So we're pretty open in our non-conference games, and which is helpful because then you get to schedule who you want and see some competition in the section, which is good too.
So I'm looking at your schedule this year, Tuesday, May 16th at Minnetonka.
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to that? You know, it's always weird when coaches change programs because sometimes it's on like a really good note, sometimes it's not. But you know, you get to go and not only play them, but you get to go back to the Minnetonka field too.
I absolutely love that field. Obviously, growing up there, like I have fond memories of that. And I totaled a car down there. I'm not going to talk too much about that, but that's high school driving, right? I love it there. I love the girls. I'm cheering for them all the way this year. I'm glad I'm not in their section. They're going to be a powerhouse to handle this year. So I'm excited for Chandler and all that she's going to do there. And I think they're going to be great. I'm
How's
excited.
how's the booth at Tonka looking this year? Their announcers and things, their media cast.
Different than last year. Yep.
Stir the pot.
Mac has to stir the pot.
I know, he's stirring the pot.
No.
Yeah, Adria was I was at Captain's Cup, and I coached the Northside girls, and she was like, I mean, just like an absolute force to be reckoned with, like just dominates leadership. Like she's kind of the whole package. And so that's really exciting that obviously she's returning, not for you. STMA and Buffalo are like a big rival, right? Is that what I think the Buffalo coaches told us that, right? Is that your big rival up there?
Honestly, TBD.
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah.
But I think that would be a solid rivalry. I mean, we're 15 minutes apart, closest schools.
Right.
That would make sense why that would be a rivalry, a border battle kind of thing. But no, I will wait and see for that, I guess.
I mean, you were second they finished second.
Yeah.
Which is super like great. A little bit of a blowout. We can kind of call it a blowout. Any words from that game of like, is there any kind of rumblings or like, have you watched film from that? It's like, I mean, there's still, as being second in the whole section is still a pretty big like accomplishment, and they clearly beat everybody else out. And then kind of like, what happened? I mean, was it just that Elk River was rolling, or they clearly rolled everybody else?
I mean, you look at all their games last year, and all their games
were like that.
And any of their losses were super close losses. So they just had a powerhouse of a team last year, and a bunch of them are playing college right now. So,
cool.
So I mean, they just had a very talented team last year, and they had quite a number of them graduate. So that will be interesting to see, but I will be watching them closely because, like I said, Adria is their points leader, and you can't sleep on her.
It like takes over. Like she is, your eyes go straight to her, in my opinion. Other games besides Minnetonka you might be looking forward to, or maybe not looking forward to?
I don't think there's any that I'm not looking forward to. I'm super excited for the season. I'm super excited to see what happens. I'm looking forward to playing CDH. I think that's going to be exciting to see that and how that team comes out this year. That's going to be a cool game to watch.
Talk to us about your staff a little bit. Did you bring anybody along with you from Minnetonka, or anybody new that was from a different program, or is it pretty much the same staff for Buffalo otherwise?
So I brought one with me from Tonka. I brought one with me from my marriage. And then I brought one with me from one that was already in Buffalo, but has been coaching with me for years. So I've got Maggie Murphy, who is a recently wed to Max Murphy that's out at STMA.
He was supposed to be on the podcast tonight, not to break, further news. He was going to be the next interview, and
PMAC was going to call him out. So thank you for giving PMAC this opportunity to call somebody out.
Yeah, because I haven't called anyone out yet.
Sorry, Max. But yeah, so Maggie Murphy will be my assistant, and then Quinn Crandall, who is assisting Patrick at CSB, will also be assisting and coaching JV for us this year. And then our prep team, who is going to be our 7th and 8th graders, it's essentially going to be my second JV, will be Ed Noy. So father of the program and somebody that's been there for the last few years. So that'll be good to have him back.
Amazing. Great question.
What else does Ted, Katie, any last questions before we get the final two?
I don't have anything.
All right. So yeah, kind of final two questions that we've been rolling during this section talk. What's your favorite thing right now? What are you reading or watching or listening to or something else?
Favorite thing right now would be podcasts in general, probably, or audiobooks. I do a lot of driving, obviously, so I've got a very extensive list of things that I listen to. My stepdaughter and I actually, when we're on a late drive and we need to stay awake, we play those unsolved mystery podcasts. just to kind of freak us out a little bit and keep us awake. And I love that. Then we get home and we can't sleep. So that's tough too. But I love, any coaching audiobook or anything right now is preseason warm up. It just puts you in the mood for coaching. And so that's kind of my thing right now.
Any go-to like coaches you listen to or follow? I've been kind of on a kick. I just finished a book on Mike Babcock. So who are you listening to coaches wise?
I listened to a new book by John Gordon and a fan of Mike Smith too. He brings him into a lot of his stuff and he's fun to listen to.
Nice. Nice.
Do you like the audiobooks when it's the person like narrating? Because I specifically bought Matthew McConaughey's book on an audiobook just so I could listen to him. And I'm thinking about doing that with Spare because I don't really read much. I'm not really a big reader. And because Prince Harry, the Duke, what is he now? Whatever he is now, like narrates his own book. And I heard it's just a terrible book, but I'm really invested. But he's speaking. And so I'm like, I'm into that.
Yeah, you could listen to Matthew McConaughey read anything.
Literally, he could be speaking gibberish. And I'd be like, God, he's so interesting.
He should narrate like a cookbook or something.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Latin. He could be speaking Latin. And I'd be like, God, this is so educational.
If you're all listened out for your true crime podcast, my favorite one is Last Podcast on the Left. They hit it all, the true crime, conspiracies, like historical events, even some UFOs sprinkled in there. They're doing
big UFO guy. JP is
a huge UFO guy.
Yeah.
They've got like a 5-part series on the Black Plague that I listened to probably all summer, going back and forth between here and Milwaukee. And I had that on repeat, but yeah, it's definitely my go-to for the true crime podcast realm.
What's your favorite one? I have not gotten into the crime podcast. So if I had to listen to one, where would I start?
I actually can't even say that it's crime podcast for me. It's like the Unsolved Mysteries. That's like
even better.
We play like the ghost stories and those kind of things.
Yeah. Ooh, okay.
Yeah. And like I don't even remember unexplained encounters, I think is one that we've in the past. Sometimes you get one that's like the narrator you just can't stand, and then it's all
not Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah,
they could get Matthew McConaughey to do the ghost stories.
Yeah, yes.
If he's free, when he's done acting. Cool.
I don't know how to transition out of anything from UFOs to Matthew McConaughey's voice, but the last question we like to ask is, what is your alley? This can be something you're passionate about today, this week, this year. Maybe it's a lifelong thing. Can be on the field, off the field, any direction you want to take it.
I would say my alley is community. And that's kind of why I'm so excited about Buffalo, because they're very similar in that everything they do is community based. I think that on a Friday night, if you don't have anything going on, even if you have something going on, you're canceling your plans to go to the game that's that night. And so I'm excited about that and to be a part of that. And I think that across the board, that's what I've always tried to create in my life, is just the community around me. Yeah.
I think you've got a great community up there in Buffalo. I think easily my favorite game I went to last year was the boys game versus STMA at Buffalo. Great stadium. It wasn't quite sold out, but the student section was going nuts for the big rivalry night. The parents were packing the stands. It was electric. I've said it multiple times on this podcast, easily my favorite stadium in the entire Minnesota high school lacrosse scene. So yeah, I think you've got a good one up in Buffalo.
Well, I'm expecting a t-shirt anytime now.
Yeah. We got to make Bison Boulevard t-shirts.
Get the presses going, Ted.
Yeah.
I think we had them queued up at one point last year, and I don't know if we ever pulled the trigger on it, but we'll get them done.
Now that we have a website, we'll be able to easily get this up, right, Ted?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Ted said we can. So Bison Boulevard t-shirts will be getting printed. Coach Crandall, thanks for coming down the alley with us, and good luck this spring.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
And thank you to Coach Crandall from Bison Boulevard, the newest, I would assume, head coach in Bison Boulevard, on Bison Boulevard. A team that I obviously am going to be cheering for. They're on the right boulevard. They're on the right road. They're on the right program. So good luck to her this spring. And it sounds like she's
Yes.
returning some pieces and building
I
a
know.
community.
Well, I was gonna say a second husband and wife team at the same school. I thought we were the only ones.
I don't think it's her husband. I think.
No, her assistant.
Oh, I see.
And he's STMA.
Yeah.
He's STMA. So
What a rivalry! Like that'd be like you coaching at. Are they in the
Rosemount.
same conference?
Rosemount
It'd be
or
like
Rosemount.
Shakopee. It'd be like you coaching at Shakopee.
Yeah.
I wouldn't let
We
you
couldn't live
home
with
at
each other.
after that game. I'd
Yeah,
just be
we
like,
couldn't live with each other.
you can go stay in a hotel tonight. I don't know
Yeah.
how they make that
Yeah,
work.
that would be hard. Well, if she was at Minnetonka last year.
Yeah,
She's
I don't know.
bringing Murphy with her.
Well, we'll have to check in on them.
Yeah,
That's-
check in on the
Too.
marriage mid-season.
Hey, now that I
we
can
check in on ours mid-season because we just don't even really see each other. So.
this could be, yeah, I don't know. I'm shorting
what
that
if we
marriage.
were at
I'm
rival
shorting that
school?
marriage.
Too bad he's not on. We could have asked him about that right after the fact. Like hot off the press, we could have come out of the gate with that question. How do you feel about your wife coaching at a rival school? And just like really hit him with something like that. But he's not here, so that's on him.
Hey, the what ifs. That could have
what
been a
ifs.
great interview. Thanks.
It could have
you
been
know.
a great interview. Coach Crandall let it out of the bag. So
And to be fair to Max, he had some like last minute work stuff come up, and you know, as much as I'd love someone to prioritize
yeah.
on the Alley podcast over their job, I don't think he made the wrong decision.
I don't either.
So we're gonna get Max on at some point, hopefully in the near future, to get his chance to talk about his program. But yeah, unfortunately, we don't have a boys Section 8 coach today, but we'll make do.
He sent me some notes.
I do want to quick note before we get into the section breakdown. I think that's the third or fourth coach we've had on just this year that is a new coach to their program. There's a lot of turnover is probably not the right word to use for it, but a lot of new faces at a lot of programs this year. And I'm just curious to see how it all plays a part in the season shakedown this year. If it's going to be new coming programs with new coaches making a statement, or is it going to be kind of not to say that the Buffalo girls team is going to be shaky out of the blocks, but just kind of in general, like what the dynamic of a lot of new coaches at new programs is going to be like this year. Do you guys have any thoughts or opinions on any of that?
No, I think that's a fair question, fair topic to bring up. It was something that I think we talked about in the fall when there was so many vacancies. I don't even know what the number was, but I think you use the word turnover. Yeah, it's turnover. There's been a lot of coaching turnover via retirements, via coaches, just changing programs, stepping down, whatever it might be. So yeah, I think it's I don't know. I think you kind of I guess is the main question, do you think new coaches are going to have a lot of success at the next program, or is it going to be a rocky start? I think I would lean towards coaches, staffs with less turnover and programs with less turnover longer term, assuming it's a good staff, right? Like, is going to have continued success easier. However, every once in a while you get the right coach in the right spot, and you get a couple coils connected, and that thing's starting to, fire it up. I don't know. What do you think, Ted?
Yeah, it is. I think it is case by case. I think you're right in the sense that probably more often than not, there's an adjustment period. Even like I was thinking about that myself, because this is year 2 at Farmington for me. And last year was fine. It was good. We got into the season and figured out what we had, and you make do. But this season, it feels different because I know every kid now, even some of like the 9th graders that were 8th graders, because you kind of spend time in the youth program, you hear about kids, you get to meet some of them or whatever, but you also know all the upperclassmen now personally. And I know instead of having no idea, or let's just say I know what 2 or 3 guys can do out of a team of 60 or out of a program of 60, Now I have a good idea about 45 of them on what I have. And there might be 15 that are maybe like, hey, did they get better over the season? Are they new? Whatever. And so there is something to be said about having having just the understanding of who the kids are in your program, having a relationship with them, knowing what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and good coaches can figure that out quickly. And Coach Crandall even kind of mentioned that in her interview of, I'm going to try to find strengths quickly and put girls where they need to be, that so that we can maximize what we have and what I can figure out early. And so, but yeah, I do agree with you. It always is a question mark on how that relationship between players and coach will resolve itself.
And I think it's freshman year versus sophomore year, like even as a player, right? Like when you're a freshman in college, you're learning where's the weight room? What do I do with my laundry? I'm just thinking back to when I was a college student, like where do I put my laundry loop? Like I gotta, you're in charge of the balls. You don't know where the weight room is. The weight room guy hates you. He's yelling at all the freshmen. Like then you come in sophomore year and everyone's welcoming you back. Hey, welcome back to campus. Hey, let's fire up the gym again. Like, welcome back, because they're picking on the freshmen. So it's like, it's not even on the field stuff. It's the off the field. Now, you already know you've had a whole year to book the buses. You've had a whole year to order the uniforms. You know the players. So yeah, sorry I cut you off, JP. What do you have about it?
No, I was gonna say 2 more thoughts with that too. Like that's kind of that turnover is already baked into high school sports, right? Every year you have one class leaving, one class coming in brand new, plus whatever sophomore, junior that wants to start playing your sport. So that turnover is already baked into the beast already. And the other thing is too, and I think PMAC, you and I talked about this last spring at some point, but now we've got, no offense to the Coach Horns or the Coach Beaches of the world, right? But we've got the new generation of head coaches coming into the scene. And there's not a vacant spot out there that wasn't filled by an experienced coach that has been a part of lacrosse for a large part of their life. So now we're kind of getting to that whole like league turnover of the lifetimers that are now coming in to coach the sport, like the people that played as a kid, played in high school, played a little bit of college, coached for 5 to 6 years as an assistant before they got the head coaching gig. So I think the whole lacrosse scene in Minnesota is kind of doing that flip over to that next generation of head coaches. And I'm actually really excited about it because, like I said, I don't think there's a single new head coach out there that didn't have a strong lacrosse background, a coaching background, playing background, whatever it may be. And now they get the reins for their own program. And it's really exciting to see that there's a lot of new faces out there.
And even if it's not a head coaching spot, Cater, right? He's been he's been the head coach forever, right? Maybe didn't quote unquote grow up with the sport like you said, but he's hiring the young guys. He's hiring the guys in their mid-20s who are coming out of college. I know a couple of them over there. With the fresh ideas, with the fresh systems and schemes that that I think you're alluding to, JP. So I think even if they're not taking over their own program, now they're getting hired and they're in important roles on high school programs. Before we do finish this, we can stay on the girls topic and finish
I want to say one more thing about that too. Like,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Like you said about the changes and from year to year of like just even freshman to sophomore to junior to senior, like the confidence that comes with it. And like you said, of just knowing the background of stuff, something I think that like is really overlooked as an attribute to be a coach is the confidence it takes to come in and like command the attention of a whole program, and they're all putting their trust in you and you have to like lead this whole program. So like all of these coaches who are taking on these programs, like that is a huge undertaking, and the confidence required to jump into that role. Like it is not like another job where, I haven't started a new job in a long time, but like where you're just kind of coming in, unless you're like an executive, which I'm sure there are people out there that do that. and you're at the top level, you're usually coming in and someone's training you in, and like, you know, that you've got a boss and you report to someone, and there's people that are kind of like your peers and stuff. But coming in as a head coach, you're kind of like the top dog. Obviously you have your AD and your staff at the school and stuff, but like you're basically coming in as like this, you know, knowledgeable person who has to command this whole group of people and sort of like maestro them to do what you want to do, all in this perfectly curated dance. And then you have to win games too. That it's like the confidence required to be a coach, nonetheless a head coach, nonetheless starting at a new program is huge. So I really commend all these coaches jumping in and like taking on these programs, because like, thank God we have coaches doing it, but like it really is something like a characteristic, if you will, that is really necessary to have this job.
And even with like a coach like Krista, who has had success, sometimes I know I'm a coach for a living, like we're coaches for a living. Sometimes you overvalue the coach a little bit. You think we're just going to hire a coach and everything else is going to take care of itself. And so sometimes when you've had success at a previous program and you come to a new program, there's like maybe you have an over inflated sense of all problems will be solved, all things will be figured out. And that adds to the pressure versus like brand new coach, you know, it's like, hey, I'm a new guy. I have nothing to lose. Right. I've never coached before, but anyway, no, I agree with you that confidence and coming in with a plan, and it's interesting.
Before we dive into the rest of the Section 8 on the girls' side, Ted, I'm checking out your shirt, and that's clean. That is a clean-looking shirt. Love the logo. The hat as well. You can get that on the Down the Alley store, but I know the shirt didn't come from there. Where are you getting your Tigers lacrosse swag from this year?
Yeah, this is 36 Threads made. The design, kind of an homage to the old split bar snapbacks from the early 2000s that every kid, it was like the only lacrosse hat that you could get, at least in Minnesota. Lids had one little corner of white snapback hats that said Syracuse lacrosse, Princeton lacrosse, Maryland lacrosse, and Virginia lacrosse. So those are the four teams you had. There may have been Duke, but literally it was those like 4 or 5 teams, and every kid just had one of those 4, and it was like, hey, I got a lacrosse hat. Now they're a little more available with the internet and just lacrosse being more popular, but
and like you're talking like colleges, right? Like all colleges. I think I had an FSU one. I don't know why I was a big FSU, Florida State fan for a while there.
I don't know if he's a listener, but Mr. Burnick's a big FSU fan, right? Florida State Seminoles.
Huge,
biggest.
Seminoles, big Seminoles guy.
Yeah, okay. But no, yeah, it was and it was just a certain company made this split bar design with a serif font. So, some of the older late 90s, early 2000s trends are coming back, which I'm here for. It makes me feel young again, and just rolling with it for the Tigers season.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for the day that everybody on the coaches' sidelines, no matter what team, what state, whatever it is dressed in a mirror image of the legend Roy Simmons Jr. The guy had the like pop collar windbreakers with the diagonal colors, the big snapbacks with that logo, or some like cross stick with a rhombus in the background. Like it was quintessential 1990s lacrosse swag, and he was an old man when he was pulling it off, but by God did he look good. And I cannot wait for the day that I'm seeing Farmington starter windbreakers, Prior Lake starter windbreakers, and everyone's just dressed like it's 1990.
Yeah, and we could bring
I'd be willing to go back to the 90s. I'm not willing to go back to like the 2000s.
And
I think that's fair.
We need the boathouse, standard embroidery to come back with just the cross lacrosse sticks that said like, Prior Lake lacrosse and 2 crossed lacrosse sticks.
Yep.
So if if others are watching on the YouTube or hearing this and they want to get maybe some swag for their youth lacrosse team, maybe even their high school lacrosse team fan wear, I don't know what they need. How are they going to get a hold of you, Ted, for 36 Thread stuff?
You can go to 36threads.com, or you can just reach out to me directly. You can even reach out on the Down the Alley Pod Instagram and say, I need to get hooked up with 36 Threads. We'll take care of you.
We'll get you headed in the right direction. Cool. Back to you, Katie. We got the girls, Section 8. We got a glimpse on Buffalo that I can see the sources are high on. I don't know if you want to start there or start from the bottom. But Section 8 girls, let's do a deep dive here. What do we got?
Where should we start?
Let's start at 4.
Okay. 4. We're going Moorhead right out of the gate. This is really fun for me because at Captain's Cup, these were the girls that I coached. So it was like really fun to now I need to know.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second, Katie?
Yeah.
About Moorhead. So when we had Coach Carly Getz on, we thought she was the youngest coach.
Yep.
State of Minnesota.
Yep. We're wrong.
Sounds like Moorhead girls have the youngest coach in the state of Minnesota, according to a Twitter post from weeks ago. It feels like months and years ago that we did Section 2.
Yeah, it does feel like forever ago.
But shout out to Moorhead for hiring a very young coach, and shout out to the coach for jumping in.
Again, confidence. The source has confirmed that. And also their leading point scorer last year was a freshman. So young squad. So yeah. The source says we give credit to the best Minnesota Lax Twitter account at Lax Moorhead.
They have a elite Twitter.
We hope their social media person is back. And the source loves to make a joke too they said along with virtually all their offense. So that's good. Goalie sounds like is not returning. Brianne Plude with a 52.5% save percentage. They're losing Annika Wozni, who has a younger sister, I believe. She's going D1 Eastern Michigan. Haley Nelson and Claire Flavin, both defenders now at Concordia St. Paul. So that's exciting. Returning Adria Kotzian. She's going to American University, going to play D1 right there. Awesome school, by the way.
I don't think you're talking. I think.
Oh no, I'm at whoopsies.
Yeah, you're on a different team. Yeah,
that was Alexander Zimmerman. Sorry about that. Well,
can I jump in quick on Moorhead though? And
yes.
I don't have notes. I'm just looking at their schedule for this year.
Yeah.
And just a point of interest that I have for them. On May 12th, they go down to play at Lakeville North.
Yeah.
On May 13th, they go play Lakeville South. We talked about it last year. May have to do a little stay and play at the Mall of America. Might go to the Great Wolf Lodge, hit the water slides, a little recovery. But then they go on to play at Hermantown the following week, at Grand Rapids Greenway, and then at St. Cloud. So that's 5 road games just before the end of the season. Then they play Grand Rapids Greenway at home to end the year. But before that, they also have 3 road games, including one at Minnetonka. So of their schedule, over half of it's on the road, and being from Moorhead, unfortunately, geographically, it's not the most convenient spot to be in. It's a lot of travel. So I'm just curious to see how that end of the year, long bit of travel, long time away from the family does to the team mentality. I like Moorhead a lot. And
they're going to be so fired up by the end of the year because they're going to have so many Delta Sky Miles. They're going to be booking an off-season trip on the staff, on the squad. All right. So don't give me this. They're going to be tired. They're going to be missing their mom and dad and the family and the kid. No, they're going to be booking a Cancun trip with their Sky Miles. So I don't think there's going to be any issue with the spots.
Well, if I know anything about the Moorhead community and based on when the boys team came down to play Benilde in 2021. They did the big city send off with the bus. I think they've got the people behind them. I think they've got a second bus for the friends and family to take down to the city. So I think the family, the community will be with them the whole way. So I think they'll be fine in that regard. It's just a point. It's just an interesting point. 5 road games in a row is an interesting way to schedule it, but I think it's probably got to be a little bit strategic. Get through kind of the gauntlet, if you will, at the end of the year before sections come up. If you get through those 5 games going 3-2, you're probably pretty happy. And you're battle tested at that point going into playoffs. So
yeah, they had a bust before they went back-to-back state runs, and their hockey team just went on a run. They got a PJ for this spring. They're flying high.
Do you get miles for PJs? I don't know. We'll have to find out.
I don't know. They're booking it on a Delta Amex. They'll be fine.
Well, I have a confession. Besides the fact that I just botched that whole shout out list, I've never been to Moorhead.
I have not either.
Okay, I feel like I was like the only one.
I don't know if my opinion on that or my status on that means a lot because I don't really leave the Twin Cities very much. So Prior Lake's like the furthest away I go. Buffalo, actually, last year is probably the furthest away I went. There's nothing wrong with anything outside of the cities. I just, no one's inviting me cool places outside the cities. So,
but I do have some shout outs then.
To Moorhead, yeah. Shout out their players.
So they were 9-6 last year. I'm getting attacked by dogs. But I will say, like I said, I did coach the North Side girls at the Captain's Cup. So I do want to shout out one of their better returners, Sydney Martinson. Sophia Swenson was there, Ava Nelson, and Allison Harvela. So they were all there, and I got to know them, and it was fun. And
dogs are going crazy. I don't know where you were taking this. To sum up the Spuds, they lost a couple of goalies, which is interesting, and 2 defenders. However, they're bringing back a lot of points. A defender who's committed to St. Ben's. So they've got. I like the pieces that they bring back. Obviously, losing 2 goalies, that's going to leave a nice little question mark between the pipes. And they've got a talented, the source's source is very high on Sydney Martinson, who is their leading point getter and is only a 2025. So
yeah.
I like the pieces here. Moorhead at 4, I can get behind. My only question mark is goalie. Are the dogs still barking, or do you want me to take it to 3?
They're kind of sporadically barking, but I think that is a good segue. STMA at 3 because they have 2 2025 goalies. So it's kind of like they've got a little bit of everything returning, I think, here. Let me double check. Yeah, got some good points returning, but they're also returning 2 goaltenders, which I think is going to set everyone up. Still only sophomores. But I like it. I think that seems like they've got kind of like a lot of offense coming back, lose a little bit, but it sounds like they're keeping a little bit of a lot across the field, a little bit around the whole field is what.
Yeah, I'm seeing similar stuff. They've got some good young pieces, a couple of leaders on offense. They lost some, but I like where they're at. It's almost, they're kind of getting a year older. So I would project progress to continue to be made with STMA. On to 2. And this is in my opinion, this is an interesting 2 from the source. I'm going to say it's a bold 2. And, not saying it's my 2, Katie, it might not even be your 2, but this is the source's 2, and you usually follow the source.
Can I give my 3 because I thought I was being bold?
Yeah.
Let me guess who. Well, I think I know where you're going with this. Go ahead.
Monticello.
Yeah. The sources are sleeping on Monticello. Crandall didn't say anything about Monticello. I thought I was holding on to that one in my back pocket for my rankings, but Ted, go ahead. You took the words out of my mouth.
Oh, and I don't see the source. It's not my source. It's the Mrs. PMAX source. And I think the Mr. PMAC gets to see that document as well. But Monticello is interesting. They lost a couple senior scorers, but they get their whole defense back. They did lose their wow, now I forgot. I think they lost their draw control, which is unfortunate. But let me just double check my notes. Yeah, draw control was a senior, so they lost her, but their number one point scorer was a freshman last year, so sophomore this year, and a lot of their defense were underclassmen, and all the ones that I assume were starters that had the stats are all coming back. So I don't know, like I'm not ready to throw them in like the top 8 of the state yet, but in a section that is got some growing programs, and I would call it a winnable section. You know, it could be an interesting team this year.
Their goalie also 2024 had great stats. So the source's source is their only question mark is depth, which in section 8, again, I'm not trying to chirp the section, but depth is probably maybe a concern from most of these teams, like just being newer growing programs. So I think Monticello, by the source and the source's source, is being a little undersold at 5.
So you mentioned a 2025 in Monticello. Is their leading score? Did you say, Ted?
I think Ted said that.
Yep.
I feel like the 2025 class for girls is like absolutely loaded. And I'm not saying that because I'm not trying to like put down the 23s and the 24s, but it seems like when we talk big key returners, they're always a 25. Okay, always is a stretch, but oftentimes we've talked a lot about 2025s who were on varsity now contributing as a sophomore.
Yeah.
Is that just like my own, is that my imagination? But I feel like more often than not, we are talking about a really, really strong 2025. That's a game maker, a point scorer, a goaltender, a defender, something.
A couple of the teams at least that I remember us talking about either had a bunch of 24s together that were good or a bunch of 25s. Like, again, not throwing shade at the 23 class, because there's definitely Buffalo girls actually being one that have a lot of 23s, a lot of seniors this year that are good. But I do agree with you. I think there has been some key teams that we've said, wow, they have a group of 2024s, current juniors, or a group of 2025s, current sophomores. And sometimes that's just the way it works out. I know in the boys side, we've had years where there have been just really good core grad classes for teams. And that's just, that's the way it works out.
I feel like it just, the 2025 class for the girls, I feel like is just absolutely loaded. So that's going to be a really fun, it'll be a fun year this year. It'll be a fun year next year. Well, then glad you called out Monticello. So that's your 3, Ted. So moving on to 2, let's rewind the tape for what I already said. I'll go back because she deserves the recognition. Adria, I think it is Kotzian. Key returner. I do mean what I say, at least at Captain's Cup, like your eye kind of goes to her. The sources notes that she distributes the ball very nicely. And I thought that's a great compliment. Great shooter, but distributes the ball. Both very strong attributes. Source, here's a hot take. Source says they will win Section 8 over Buffalo in a 14-8 final.
Write that down.
State may be tough depending on if they can improve quickly as the season goes on. Oh, that's the source's note.
That's the source's source. So we're talking about, I don't know if I actually said the name. We're talking about Elk River right now.
Sorry, I don't think we did either. But
that's okay.
I said rewind the tape.
Rewind the tape. We're talking about Elk River, like you said, bringing back their stud, bringing back a bunch of other pieces. Did they lose quite a bit?
goalie.
They lost a goalie. They lost a couple D2 defenders. They lost some points, but you bring back the big gun. You bring back a supporting cast. It's a team. Let's not forget they won 23-3. And we're gonna try to put them at 2.
Yeah.
Source.
Yeah.
So
I'm second guessing myself.
Katie, you can follow, but there is.
I don't always follow.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
I don't
So,
always follow.
You don't always follow. Okay. There is no way on God's green earth that I'm putting Elk River at 2 in this section. That's a bold take by the source. I love bold takes. I'm here for the bold takes. Somebody tell me, Ted, Katie, or JP, why Buffalo should be 1. Does anybody? Again, we just had the Buffalo. I'm Bison Boulevard guy. I am here. They should probably give me a suite on Bison Boulevard for all the publicity that I've been giving them. I'm probably going to be rooting for Buffalo, but if I'm putting my biases aside, I don't know how you put Buffalo at 1.
I was thinking about, I think Buffalo and Elk River are the 2 teams that stand out in this section, and they obviously were the top 2 last year. I think Buffalo, they return a lot. I'm not ready to put them at 1, but I think the gap has closed. I think it's more maybe what you would call a pick or a coin flip type game, or between the top 2 versus one team is far and away better. You could maybe say 1A, 1B. I'm not ready to do that. I'm taking, again, more of the conservative approach and saying Elk River has been really good for Elk River Zimmerman. I don't want to leave Zimmerman. I feel like Zimmerman
Yeah.
a bad, like they get kind of like left out. It is Elk River Zimmerman.
Is Zimmerman like the ugly stepsister in this equation, or
The
who's
co-op.
Zimmerman?
Well, it's the co-op high school. I've never been to Zimmerman either.
Kind of like Prior Lake Savage. They do a lot of things together, especially at the youth level. It's 2 separate cities. Like
Does Zimmerman have their own high school though?
They don't have their own high school. I'm pretty sure they don't, but I think it's well, maybe they do. I don't know, but I know it's 2 separate cities, and we just say Elk River, but it is Elk River Zimmerman. So if you're listening to this and you have a Zimmerman address, I'm trying to give you some love. I know I'm clueless. You may have your own high school. I don't even know, but I do know you have your own city, and I want to make sure that we shout that out. Elk River Zimmerman.
Because the Prior Lake, the Savage people that go to Prior Lake are very particular about the fact that they live in Savage.
I
So
would
Zimmerman might be the same way.
Be a really great restaurant in Zimmerman, and people are like, "Oh, I go to that Elk River restaurant."
Yeah.
And it's a Zimmerman restaurant.
You're right.
So
I
anyway,
think I agree with you. I think the gap is closing, but I think I might have to, the source puts them at 1 still, Elk River Zimmerman. It sounds like they had a big 2022 class, but I agree that I don't know if I think they're losing as much to completely get beat out.
yeah,
By
20
anybody.
goals. 20 goals. Come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, that's
Come
ridiculous.
on.
that's where I can't. Elk River gets the benefit of the doubt for me as the 1 because of track record. The last few years, like I said, the gap might be closing a little bit. There might be some more competition, but you get to earn recency bias from me if you've won, the section the last couple of years, and you get some of your big pieces back. You get to have the 1 in my book. Losing the goalie though, are they losing their goalie? Did I?
Elk River.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that could be a factor. But I think they do
But
get.
they scored 20 goals,
Yeah.
23 goals in a game. That has nothing to do with your goalie.
And they do get they're one of their draw control who had 63 last year graduated, but they had another girl that had 61 who's a senior this year. So they were a 2-headed monster. And so, yeah, I mean, if you can win the ball on the draw and score every single time, you don't need to have a defense. And I think they actually do have some defenders coming back, but offensive efficiency, if you don't have to play defense and you just score every time you get the ball and you can win it back every single time, make it, take it, then you can live with a bad, I don't want to say bad.
Source's source said they lost a lot of defense, but can still score with top 6 of 10 scorers returning.
There you go.
Some players have 5 years playing on varsity.
And so that's where I said, where I think the gap has closed, where if Buffalo can get possessions and they're smart in a game where they can slow the game down, maybe keep it low scoring, Buffalo should be able to score goals on Elk River this year if they can get the ball. And then it just becomes a matter of, can you keep up?
I think the source is just such a diehard that they're like, it's Bison Boulevard or bust.
Well,
I kind of respect that, and maybe
because they have spreadsheets that there's no way this was overlooked. I just think it's Bison Boulevard or bust, and we're bringing it to the girls' side. The passion you had, PMAC, can't just be. It can't be a sexist passion. It has to be an all or nothing.
That's a crazy accusation. I have to look.
Your Bison Boulevard, like
there's a lot, right?
2 years ago, they like not even win a game, and you're like, they're the best team ever.
Well, and they were. Let's get to write that down. Let's get to the rankings, and I'm going to go first because accusations.
We didn't really talk about Buffalo because
we met the coach. We did.
I know, but they have an all-state name contender.
Hit me.
That's all I want to shout out.
Hit me.
Victoria Viteri.
Double V's.
Vicky Viteri. That's an awesome name.
Good name.
Double V's. Vicky V, Tori Terry, Tori Viteri. Like, it's a good one. It's a good one. So I had to shout that out.
And they graduated 5 defenders.
Yeah, that's tough.
Buffalo.
We have another one. The one that coach shouted out, Eleanor Toussaint. I do love that. D1 Eastern Michigan. So that's kind of exciting.
I mean, if it ends up being Buffalo Elk River in the final, we could have a 30-29 game. It seems like
honestly,
everybody just defense, but all the scoring returns.
Right.
Who knows? I mean, I'm not counting out Monty or some of these other programs. Monticello, the Monty Magic. They go by Monty. That's like
they do.
Are they the Magic?
The Monty Magic.
They just moved up another spot for me. Okay, I'm
on social is the Monty Magic.
I love that. I absolutely love that. JP, write this down. I've got Elk River at 1. I'm not going to let my bias. I have to check my biases. Yes, I am a fan of Bison Boulevard. I am going to pump I'm going to pump the brand. However, for the people, this is for the people. This is for the listeners.
Changed. This is soft. This
doesn't want to be a clueless lacrosse coach.
I don't want to be a clueless lacrosse coach all the time. This is for the people. I have to stand true to the facts, the spreadsheets, what I'm seeing,
not the
what
Boulevard?
my gut is telling me. My gut is telling me Elk River won 23-3 last year.
Like I said, the Buffalo boys.
Let me no. It's my turn. It is my turn. It's not your rankings. You can go on your rant. Stop cutting me off. Stop cutting me off. It is.
You can mute people if you want.
Oh yeah, Katie's gonna get them. Oh, Katie got muted. All right, Elk River. I am putting my biases aside. I have to be truthful to DTA Nation. This is proof. This is proof that I'm doing homework, that I'm truthful, that I'm not just pumping brands for the sake of pumping brands that make me feel good. No, this is for the people. This is good reporting. This is for the people. Elk River. And don't forget about Zimmerman at number 1. I've got Bison Boulevard at 2. The Monty Magic. Their stock is climbing. I'm going to join you, Ted, at 3. I know you said you had them at 3. I was going to have them at 4. I found out their logo, the Magic. That's something I can get behind. Moorhead at 4 for me. The Spud Wagon, a team that DTA Nation knows and loves. I know STMA was in the mix, but I don't care that Moorhead graduated a goalie. I like we said, all these games this year could be 20-21. Everyone's returning a bunch of scoring. I think this is going to be a high-powered offense. I'm in Section 8. I'm going against the defense. I don't need the Jefferson Jaguar cater defense, and not in Section 8. Not in Section 8. This is a high power. You got to have offense if you want to stick around. I got Moorhead at 4. That's my top 4, Section 8. Somebody else take the wheel.
I'll go mine because I'm gonna fade you guys. I'm gonna fade the source. I'm going against the grain on this one. I'm gonna go
Write it down.
bottom up. I've got it written down. I got to keep my thoughts organized, but I've got as my 4 a team no one has talked about at all.
Uh-oh.
I've got Brainerd as my 4. And the reason why I have the Brainerd Warriors as my 4 is they're graduating their number 1 top scorer and the number 3 top scorer, but are returning a player that put up, let me double check here. She put up 50 points last year, second leading scorer on the team. They only graduated a handful of seniors. And last year they finished, I believe, 4th in the section. So they've got a young group of players that are ready to bounce back, make that run. I think Brainerd is a team that people have to keep an eye on. And they're a solid 4. I'm going Elk River as my 3. I just, there's too much graduation, too much turnover, too much talk going on. Elk River, what was in the past will stay in the past. They're going to be at the 3. I've got Moorhead as my 2. Spudwagon is coming back, but the wheels are going to fall off one step short because the Monticello Magic is going to put a curse on them, and the Monticello Monty Magic are my number 1. I think the Magic are the wagon out of Section 8 this year.
Brainerd's a very, very, very interesting choice. I don't know what to really think of them, but they had a decently close game with STMA, so I don't hate the pick at 4.
Ted, you got next?
Sure. I'll go top down. I think that's how I've been doing it. Elk River at 1 for reasons I've already stated.
Elk River Zimmerman.
You're right. I just completely went against my own rant. Elk River Zimmerman. Edit that, PMAC. Elk River Zimmerman at 1. Buffalo at 2. Monty Magic at 3. STMA at 4. So close to PMAX, different 4 seed. And but I think it's a 2-horse race. As much as I love the Monty Magic, I think it's a 2-horse race.
Katie?
I'm going with the sources top 4. I'm convinced. I did not jump on the Buffalo train at the beginning, so I don't feel bad that I'm going to put Elk River Zimmerman first. Buffalo at 2, STMA at 3, and Moorhead at 4. I'm just going to keep it cut and dry. JP, you threw some curveballs. You guys threw some curveballs, but the source has algorithms, and I'm going to trust the equations and the algorithms. But this time I'm actually doing the source's source.
The Ken Palm of Minnesota Lacrosse. Some
What?
may say. So the Ken Palm of Minnesota Lacrosse.
Yeah.
Some may say.
That's what I'm going to go with. JP, you write that down.
I got it all written down. We're all organized. It's all pretty
You're
much
going
the
to have to pull
same.
some new logos.
So, I know.
Can't wait to see the Monticello Magic.
Get Brainerd up there too.
Yeah.
Graphics gonna look nice.
And that's all she wrote for the girls. On to the boys. Like we mentioned, Max Murphy, he was going to be our guest tonight. He had work. He took some ricochets. We're worried about his marriage going into this season, but going into Section 8 here, he sent me some notes. Do we want to start with his notes? Do we want to do a recap of last year on what Section 8 on the boys side looked like? Where Ted, JP, somebody give me some guidance. What direction do we want to go?
I mean, last year it ended up being Moorhead winning the section for the second year in a row against St. Michael Albertville for, I believe, the second year in a row. I don't remember. I could look that up quickly, but
Yeah.
I think this section is interesting because it used to have the likes of Maple Grove, Wayzata, Buffalo, some schools that got moved into more metro sections. So very much an outer metro section. I think St. Michael Albertville might be the closest team to, the 494, 694 loop, the suburbs. Oh no, Providence Academy, excuse me, is closer. But yeah, I think a lot of teams that are sort of outer metro or outer, like outer state type teams, it's fun to see a lot of new programs coming up. And, like I said, Moorhead has been kind of the go-to for the last couple seasons, but interested to hear what Max had to say about his section.
Notes from Max. For Section 8, Moorhead is obviously the team to beat. Their coaches are doing a great job at putting together a game plan, making play outside of your comfort zone. Definitely would have to agree with him on that. Moorhead's been there, done that, has represented the section the last couple of years. So, Moorhead, no stranger to DTA Nation. So, I would agree with him on that. He has a lot to say about the teams coming up, around the section. Teams like Monticello and Elk River have grown and are coached and have are developing great talent over there. So, he goes on to say that the section is growing. There's a lot of programs headed in the right direction. Going into STMA, lost a handful of solid players, but returning a lot, both on offense and defense, looking to build off of what we were able to do last year. Playing in the Lake Conference gives us a very challenging schedule that sets us up well for the section. Shameless plug. Here we go. If anyone hasn't been to STMA versus Buffalo, come check it out this year. I coached STMA for the first time last year, and that was the best atmosphere I've ever been a part of. And JP, you were at that game, correct?
I was, and he does not lie. I've said it multiple times tonight. Best game I went to last year. I mean, even better than the Prior Lake BSM game, which was electric. Don't get me wrong. But Buffalo, I would assume it's at STMA this year. I haven't been to their stadium yet, but I literally sound like a broken record right now. Buffalo's got the best stadium in the state. It was a great environment. If you're looking for good lacrosse, go to that game.
Are you going to be at that game this year?
Let me check the schedule. I'll have to get back to the people on that one.
Okay.
But yeah.
Hopefully you are. To just go off of kind of what his notes are, around the section. I'd have to agree with him. Programs like Elk River and Monticello, I feel like are trending up, making waves. Another team I definitely have to shout out would be Providence Academy. They have a new head coach. They kept a lot of their staff together, but their head coach left, went over to Chaska. This is probably the youngest staff in general, I would say, across the state. You've got Spielman over there, I think, heading it. You've got, and then Turnbull, who's my age. He moved to Minnesota over the last year. He's going to be working with goalies and defense, and then I don't know who else is over there, but very young staff, newer program. They were the 4 seed last year. So, Providence Academy, I don't know what they were, returning off the top of my head, just without looking at notes, but Providence Academy, definitely want to shout out them with Turnbull joining that staff. And then watch out for the Storm and Sabres. That's my favorite team name across the state, the Storm and Sabres. So I don't know what notes, JP, Ted, you may have on this section across teams, but that's kind of my rundown at a high level.
I'm going to fade the source again tonight for the second time. Moorhead, there's no disrespect, but it looks like they lost a pretty heavy chunk of seniors from last year. And without showing my hand yet with my rankings yet, they are not at my one. I think this is the section of new faces, newcomers to the table. You mentioned them already. Sartell, the Storm and Sabres, they've got a prime roster ready to go to make a run. I think they graduate 5, 6 seniors from last year. And yes, they lost in not a very close game to STMA in the section semis last year. But again, we've talked about it a number of times. When you bring back a group of players that made it close to that destination point, they're going to come back fired up. They're going to come back ready to go. And I think the Storm and Sabres are, I think, the best sleeper pick of any team in any section of this year, because like I said, they're bringing back the majority of their roster. They were right there on the line last year to get to that point they wanted to. I think Sartell is primed to make a run that no one's going to see coming. I also think Providence Academy is a very similar school. They have a very similar situation, not graduating a lot of guys. Did not quite make the run that Sartell made. They actually lost to Sartell, the Storm and Sabres, in the section quarterfinals. But just from what I know about the coaching staff over at Providence Academy, from what I'm guessing the facilities that they have at that program, Providence Academy is right on the doorstep of being a team to talk about, at least in Section 8, if not in the larger picture of, say, the top 25 of the state in whole. But I think Providence Academy is another one that I've got on my radar as they might be there. They might be in the talking points for sure in Section 8. So I think those two schools are primed to make a run. Two teams that I'm very interested in coming into this year.
JP, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was literally looking at both of those schools.
They're primed and ready to go.
So you
Ted.
literally stole everything I was going to say.
Ted, what do you got?
I'm still a believer, at least preseason, of the Spuds. I know they lost a couple attackmen, but they did get a handful of their top scorers back. It looked like, again, according to just trying to figure out who their guys were, that two of the three, or 3 of the 4, if you want to count, the log stick midfielder as like part of the defense, versus middies or whatever. But most of their polls come back. They get their goalie back. They get their face-off guy back. So interesting. Maybe a team that's going to be more of a low scoring, grind it out. I think they have the right guys coming back to defend their title. STMA is weird because every year I feel like we go into the season and it kind of feels like this is STMA's year, and then they have some really good moments and then it fizzles out in sections, and it's just been that way for so long. They lost their goalie and their face-off guy, and I think their number 2 scorer. So yeah, I'm sure there's, replacements, but I don't know if I'm ready to pick them to win the section. I think they're still in the top 4 for me. Storm and Sabres are going to be my bold pick, but you guys beat me to it. For all the reasons. I think, they have a lot of guys returning. One question mark I have about them, though, is their schedule. Obviously, they're playing teams that are geographically available to them. Rocori, Brainerd, St. Cloud, Becker, Monticello. It's not the toughest schedule in the world, and they did crush some of those teams. But when they played St. Michael Albertville, they lost 16-2. They lost 8-2 to Moorhead. They lost 13-4 to Chisago Lakes. They lost 12-8 to Monticello, and then the win against Providence in sections was a huge win, and then lost 11-6 to St. Michael. So a little bit better in the second half of the season. I think they're in the conversation, but their schedule worries me that once they have to go play an STMA, an Elk River, a Moorhead, there's just not enough there. But they have, I think, the best name player name I have seen all season, maybe ever since we started the podcast. Their goalie, returner, Rudolph Rugemer. Rudy Rugemer, the goalie. He was for 43. He posted, not only was his name good, his stats were good. He posted a 8.15 goals against average, a 57% save percentage, logged 660 minutes, and put up 20 saves in that section semifinal loss to St. Michael. So Rudolph Rugemer, awesome name. I'm rooting for you. I'd love to see the Storm and Sabres storm their way to state. I just don't know if the depth is there. And then, yeah, Providence Academy might have the best player in the section, Sammy Lewis. Unbelievable attackman, super crafty, tough kid. Did a lot of nice things for them. I think he's only a junior. If I have to maybe double check that, but yeah, and a new staff where we've talked about staff, right? New versus consistent. Ronnie Spielman has been there for a couple years. Now he's the head coach, so there is going to be some consistency there. Providence has a few guys, and they play a decent schedule. They play this, teams in the Metro, but they're going to get some tough games. I think they play Blake. I think they play, who else did they get? I just looked at it and then I clicked away, but,
One
okay.
team that we haven't really talked about, Elk River, going into the season while you pull up that
Okay. Yeah.
schedule.
Their schedule was not great. They did play Blake, lost pretty big, but took care of business against kind of weaker Metro teams. That, again, that might come back to haunt them. I don't know I can look what their schedule is. So you keep going. I'll look what their schedule is this year.
Yeah, I don't know. Elk River, obviously Storm and Sabres, when you have a name like that, you're going to catch our eye. Providence, they're in the mix. We know a coach over there. Moorhead, Wagon, STMA should always be in the mix of winning this section. Elk River, a team on the rise. Last year, made some noise, made a little bit of a push. This year, very senior heavy team, two-headed monster between the pipes. Is this a sleeper? Is this a team that, I don't know if they can take the next step or not. Maybe this year is the year that you'd be able to. I think this is a team that maybe could make at least the section final.
Yeah, they, looking at them for all the reasons you said, they lost a couple of guys, but it seems like a lot of their players were juniors. So they had some seniors, but a lot of their players are juniors, now seniors. This could be the group, that senior heavy group. And they play a decent schedule. I have it here. They're going to get Maple Grove. They got a Blaine, Anoka, Moorhead. They got Centennial, Robbinsdale, Armstrong. So they're putting themselves in some respectable games this year, which could really help them come section time.
And I wanted to bring this up about STMA, and I was, hoping to ask their coach, did this come up a year or two ago? We've been doing this for a while. Is this a team that's jinxed?
They're jinxed.
Yeah.
Was there a story behind this that we heard?
Yeah, what was that?
And I was hoping to get the story tonight.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, I have to go.
Yeah,
back.
he's not been on before, but we've talked about.
There was an urban legend. There was an urban legend about the STMA curse, and it was back when Wayzata, I believe, was in Section 8.
Okay.
It ended up for like so many years. It was STMA, Wayzata, and STMA always got the 1 seed, and Wayzata always got the 2. Even though Wayzata played late conference teams all year and STMA played, out of state team, but STMA was winning games 27-0 and was, 12-0, 13-0 going into sections. So they gave them the 1, and there was like 3 or 4 years in a row where Wayzata upset them, but like big. And it was kind of like, are there jinx? Like they just can't give them the 1, give them the 2, doesn't matter.
Got
But
it.
there was a
Who
storm.
told us that?
There
Maybe
was
it was the Buffalo coaches.
Yeah, I think it was. I wouldn't put surprise. That doesn't surprise me. They're probably creating some
They're
controversy.
creating a narrative. Okay. Yeah, that was just something in my notes that I had. Is this team jinxed? Year after year, it just seems like they're right there. A team you expect to be there. A team that I think they're due. But I think down the alley, we know about the jinx. We have our own jinx sometimes that may reappear at times. So it's definitely something I'm going to take into account when I have to write that down and give JP my rankings. Since I went first, I'm going to go last. Katie, what are your rankings
I'll
on the
go
boys'
first.
side, Section 8?
So I'm gonna go 4 Moorhead.
Okay,
I think they
interesting.
lost too many point scores. I'm a big point scorer. Like you gotta score goals.
Okay,
Are they all seniors? Is that what I saw correctly?
Decent amount.
decent amount. Yeah.
3, I'm staying with what was 3 last year, the Monty Magic. Are they the Magic, right?
They're the Magic.
I'm sticking with that. I think that's a good spot for them. I just feel like they don't make a lot of noise, so I'm going to keep them in the same spot. 2, I'm going Storm and Sabres because I too started looking them up before JP kind of started talking, and then Ted kind of confirmed it. 1, which now this whole thing now is kind of solidifying my picks. I'm going to go 1, St. Michael Albertville, because if the curse is true, I'm going to rank them at 1, but that means Storm and Sabres is going to upset them and go to state.
Ooh, I like
I
that.
think that would be really fun.
That's smart.
So if the curse is
Interesting.
real, I have the Storm and Sabres going to state and winning Section 8.
Very, very interesting. GP, who do you got?
Talked about them briefly. I think they are a team that is ready to make a run, at least be on everyone's radar. I've got Sartell as my 4, Sartell Sock, Storm and Sabres as my 4. I'm going with Moorhead as my 3. They've graduated a lot of points. I think they kind of got lucky with the STMA curse last year, going back to back. I am not counting them out. That's why they're 3, but I need some more out of them. I need some proof in the pudding, if you will, that they deserve to be put higher on later in the year. But I've got the Moorhead as my 3. STMA, I'm putting at the 2, not to play into the curse like Katie's doing, which I think is a smart move, putting them at 1. But I think the curse will remain in play. They're going to get back to the section finals. I love STMA. I met a lot of their guys out there at the Buffalo game. I went to college with a lot of St. Michael guys. Good town, good people. I don't know what's up. I didn't put the curse on them. Good team, but I think they're a solid 2. And I think for the people, which might not be for the people because they're a private school, but I got Providence Academy as my 1. I think they're going to shock the world this year. The look on your face, PMAC, I've already shocked you, but I think Providence Academy is primed and ready to go. It's a section that's ready for it's the section that sends the new face, it seems, or the kind of the sleeper pick, at least in my experience in the last 3 to 4 years in the Minnesota high school scene. But I think Providence Academy is going to make a run at state this year. They are my 1.
I would love to see Turnbull go on a run and go to state with that program. A Titan. That's all I have to say about your rankings. Very interesting. Ted, what do you got?
I have Sartell Sock Rapids at 4. I love their goalie's name, and I love the brand, and I like that they're an up-and-coming team. The schedule concerns me when they have to go and play some tougher teams that play tougher schedules. So they're in the mix for me, but it's a wait and see. STMA is at my 3. I think they're usually they have a lot of their scoring back, or they got a handful of good scoring back. They lost their goalie and their faceoff guy, their specialist, so that's going to be interesting. They seem to always be in the mix. I just don't know, I don't know where. I don't know if they have the depth maybe to win the section, but they're certainly in the mix. I have Elk River at 2. I like the way they schedule. I think this is probably bold to have me put them there, but they had a decent team last year. 2 years ago, I watched them play Chanhassen, and I was impressed with just their brand of lacrosse. They're tough, they're gritty, and they schedule well. And then I'm taking Moorhead at 1. I think they have enough returning that they're kind of, again, until proven otherwise. They are, they're the class of the section. Providence Academy was kind of my honorable mention. I was kind of debating between them and, the Storm and Sabres, but Storm and Sabres get the 4 for me.
I'm going to go 1 to 4. I'm going Moorhead. They're the original down the alley wagon. They're going on runs year after year until they prove me wrong. Until they prove me wrong, they're going to stay at 1. So I'm riding with the Spuds this year. Ted, I know it might feel like I'm just copying your notes tonight, but I got Elk River at 2 as well. Senior heavy team, like I said. I think this is a team that wants it. I think I don't know. My gut is screaming Elk River for 2, and I'm going to trust my gut. I'm battling my 3 and 4 here. I'm gonna, for a few different reasons, Storm and Sabres at 3. Favorite team name in the state. They brought their entire staff to Down the Alley Coaches Summit, correct?
2. There were 2. I don't know how many they have, but there were 2.
Okay, so there's multiple coaches at the Down the Alley Coaches Summit. So they're fired up for this season. They're taking notes. They want it. So I'm going to get behind them. I like their brand already, and they're supporting and coming out and learning. So that makes me more bullish on the brand for those reasons. So Storm and Sabres at 3, and I'm going to ride Providence Academy at 4. I like their staff. I like Turnbull. And Ted, you brought up a great point. They have an absolute stud who I think is going to do some damage and carry this team a little bit. So for those reasons, Providence Academy at 4. STMA, I think they're jinxed. I think they're cursed. I'm going to stay a mile away from them.
I think that's smart. I don't know. We'll see what happens with them. I like that program a lot. They didn't help the jinx by bailing on us tonight. Just kidding. But we'll see how that goes. I think we might make some adjustments to the calendar. Probably going to have to get up there for the STMA Buffalo game, May 9th at STMA. Got to check out that stadium, give the rivalry a fair shakedown by going to both schools. But yeah, STMA is, I think, going to be my hyper-focused team out of Section 8 just because it intrigues me a lot. So.
And I know, JP, you said you like STMA and you like the people there. I don't know if I do. Like, my buddy coaches there. I work with some people from there. I don't know. I don't know if I like STMA. I don't think I like, and I have no reason, but I don't know if I like them. I don't think I like them. I think I'm against them, and I think I'm going to start a rivalry with them for absolutely not really any reason other than I think I want to add a rivalry. I'm in the mood. I've kind of been stirring the pot a little bit tonight. I think I'm adding STMA to my rival list, and I'm not really sure why. I'm putting a chip on my own shoulder, and if they want one, here you go. STMA, not a fan of you guys.
I think they pay attention to the podcast. So if you wanted a rivalry to step up to your proposition, I think they're the ones to do it. And now you're just giving them a bigger chip on their shoulder. Prove us wrong. We've been saying it all for the last, it's been 2 months of section breakdowns. We've been saying it for 8 weeks straight. Prove us wrong. We'd love nothing more.
It's all we got for the section breakdowns. I know, Katie, we were asked earlier this week, other than this awesome website that's going to be fired up that you're going to sign up for, what can the people expect from the podcast? And I said, I have no clue what's going to happen after this week. I plan, I'm a day by day guy. It was weird planning out 8 weeks of the podcast. It worked out great, but I have no
I can't
clue.
believe it's done.
I know, it's kind of weird. So I don't really know what the people can expect. We got tryouts next week. I don't know when we're going to record. We'll see when tryouts actually happen with the weather. But is there anything that the people can expect, or are we?
I mean, we're gonna
or
have
expect
to for sure,
nothing.
or you can for sure expect stuff once game starts, but that's like not for 2 weeks.
So JP and I have talked a little bit, and last year JP got to games, got the media, we got the social buzzing. Our goal this year is to cover the games of the week a little bit better from a I hate to use the term analysis because I don't think anybody wants to hear I don't think anybody's here for my lacrosse analysis, but at least try to break down the game that we're covering. So you have the media, the fun stuff, but someone could go and say like and read the article and figure out this was the vibe. This is what happened. Here's some standout players and try to bring light to the game itself and the players that are playing. I don't want to overpromise because I am coaching a team this spring as well, but that has been my goal and like vision or this thing that I think would make the coverage a little bit better. And if I were a player or a coach and someone else was doing this, I think that would be really cool. So that's my goal, and I hope that I can pull it off, or we can pull it off in a way that the people like. So maybe just that could be something they can expect that might be a little bit different than what we did last year.
Yeah, no, expect a more thorough coverage of the games. We got our feet wet last year. I was still basically learning to how to turn on my camera last year. But now we've got the gear, we've got the know-how. We're making plans, trying to schedule out, but it's going to change week by week. Who's the top game? Who's what's exciting? What do the people want? So that'll probably be a week by week thing. But yeah, to Ted's point, I think something we missed last year that is going to be huge this year are those game day breakdowns. Given just kind of a quick blurb on who scored, how'd the game flow go, what was the environment like, maybe even a breakdown of the stadiums. We've been talking about that a lot. So just bringing more coverage to somebody that lives down in Cottage Grove that has never been to St. Michael or Buffalo, give them an idea of what it's like, at least a little bit, to be at the game itself, and give, like you said, Ted, kind of that more factual, analytical breakdown of what's happening, whatever that might be, right? Could be the game, could be the people, could be the stadium, whatever it is. But we're definitely looking to up the ante a little bit with our coverage. I don't think anybody would be surprised to hear this. We all absolutely love lacrosse. We all really appreciate the people that listen to this podcast, the people that play the sport, coach the sport, support the sport. So we want to just put that on a higher pedestal, and let the people know what it's about, and hopefully just help people. Maybe it's just a scouting thing that you get when you're getting a breakdown from the Buffalo STMA game. But yeah, we definitely want to up the ante this year, and we're super excited about it.
You should check out everybody's like facilities, like what locker room or lack of locker room they get to work with, and do they even have access to the football weight room, or do they don't even get to look at it? And kind of document some of that stuff.
I got a good one, and this is a rumor, so I don't know. This
Rumor mill.
hasn't been confirmed, but all summer this year, Farmington High School, like the stadium, was under construction. The whole west side. And I'm like, what are they doing? Oh, they're putting in like a new entrance. They're building a locker room. They're building locker room. They're building this building next to the stadium, in between the school and the bleachers. So I'm like, Farmington's getting a locker room. That, like, hands down, like, hey, we're trending up. So we had a coaches meeting, and one of the coaches said, "Are we using the weight room still for our locker room?" I'm like, "No, they just built a new locker room." And one of the people in the room said, "Oh no, they built that for the away football teams." So it's the football team has, like, I've never seen a locker room outside in Farmington other than the weight room, but so Farmington, when we play at Farmington, has their own locker room. They built a separate structure for the away teams, and that's supposedly not allowed to be used for lacrosse. So we, like, literally built a locker room for the other teams. Again, he may have been just messing with me. And if he was, I hope I get a text tomorrow. I think he listens to this podcast, but I hope he's like, "You're an idiot. Of course it's not for the away team." I was
That's
like,
a lot of
"Buddy,"
money to spend.
he didn't say, "Hey, Ted, by the way, I was messing with you." Like, that was it. And so if you want to do
I'm flabbergasted.
anyway, and who knows, it could just be a storage shed for all I know. I haven't been in there, but yeah, I don't know.
That's gonna suck.
Mac, your rivalries with soccer. My rivalry, I think, to the end of my life will be with football. We got our butts kicked by football at St. Thomas. At Gonzaga, football got the priority treatment. I understand it, right? It's the bigger sport to the people, but you're not using it. It's springtime. It's wasted space. What are we doing here, people? I don't understand it. A lot of football players play lacrosse, which is great. So I just don't understand why you just share the locker room. It's not that hard. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's the football stuff is pretty hilarious. So any last notes?
Exciting announcement, kind of something to go along with the website launch today. We are doing a Down the Alley apparel giveaway. It will be on the Instagram. The rules will be posted with the Instagram post, but you can get some Down the Alley swag if you enter in to win that. Trying to get people a sweatshirt and a hat to wear to games if you're going as a fan, or if you want to get a new pregame sweatsuit going. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. If you don't win, there's still the Down the Alley store on Squad Locker and some other t-shirts that we're making, but Bison Boulevard, stay tuned. But yeah, very excited to get some apparel out to the people. More to come on that.
Sweet.
Oh,
8 weeks.
Yeah,
Oh,
hey,
no.
what? How many days? How many days till tryouts? 4?
Yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Yeah.
So good luck this week. This coming up week at tryouts, and hopefully
Ted, what was the
hopefully it
verdict
stays
on the
warm.
raincoat?
Pardon?
What was the verdict on the best raincoat? The tallies are in.
A lot of people swear by their Storm Tech raincoat. Storm Tech. They have a website, Storm Tech USA. I don't get a commission for it. But multiple people swear by it. They look pretty sick. Coach Clem brought it to the coaches summit so I could see it
Wow.
in real life. Nice embroidered. It had the Benilde logo on it, but it was nice embroidered. Really nice garment. So
Is it going to keep you warm and dry?
yeah, I mean, it looked pretty nice. I mean, you would have, if it was like cold rain, you would have to wear a sweatshirt, but yeah, no, it's a solid jacket. It looked like a very solid jacket.
Are you going to get one?
I'm leaning towards getting one.
Which I'm pulling it up. I'm pulling up their website. Not that I need a jacket at all.
I swear by the Nike ones we got, like these sideline ones. It's so warm, and I mean, that thing saved my life last year. But we have a good Carhartt like rain slicker,
Yeah, that
Yeah.
thing's elite.
and it keeps you dry, but it's not very warm. I will say that.
So it's the men's Epsilon 2.
Men's Epsilon. That's a big word. There we go. HR2.
HR1, I believe. Well,
Men's Epsilon 2 soft shell.
I think that's the one that he had.
Oh, we'll have a text message from him by 7 a.m. Telling us which one he has. So no, these look super nice, and they would look great with a down the alley logo. But that's enough jacket talk. Good luck at tryouts this week. Games are going to be right around the corner. Check out the website, subscribe, sign up for the free version. Content will be rolling up here as soon as today, the day of the drop here. So and it's only gonna build out as games start, and we have more time to add content to it. So super excited.
Season's here, folks.
Good luck, everybody.
Fun's just beginning. Let's get it going.
Let's get her going. We will talk next week.